First of all, if you philosophically believe in democracy and the democratic republic, you know that the number one responsibility of any government in a democracy is public safety. Safety of the individual and to protect the Constitution. As you get involved in police work, you don't understand that, you don't get the concept, but you go around and you go on police calls and you meet people in the community, and all of a sudden you start to realize that you are the only person that can make a difference. So then, with all the negative things that you have to deal with, pain, people being injured, people that don't like you, giving traffic tickets, complaints against you, and all the other variables that are always pulling against you, it only takes about one person, whether you've saved them or helped the little lady, or you've made such an individual impact on one person. Today, law enforcement is about communities, getting commitment, whether it's community-oriented policing or this new intelligence-led policing, which we're working hard at. We work on communities. I like to take it a little further and say, boil it down to the individual. And if you can make a direct impact on an individual, individuals make groups, then groups make communities. And so you plant the seed at the individual level. You don't get an emotional satisfaction very often when you speak to a group. You get questions. Some of them like what you say, some of them don't. So you practice about trying to be upfront and truthful. But the bottom line is if you can make a difference to one individual, and it makes a significant difference, and when you know you're the only person that can do that. Not attorneys, not judges, not accountants, not business, not CEOs. We're government. We have our restrictions to be able to work within. We don't give bonuses. And so after a while, that takes its toll. And so you have to find those kind of people that have that passion. But there's nothing more in the great discussion between your head and your heart that in the end of the day, the heart wins. I've always thought that the heart wins. And when you can help somebody that makes a difference in their life, then A, you build that relationship in the community, and that spreads. Normally, in law enforcement, a person calls in and says, there's drug activity in a house. Traditional policing, we take the report. 2 or 3 days later, it gets processed through records. 2 or 3 days later, it goes to a detective. He looks at it and says, well, we know there's a drug house there, probably. We have no evidence. We have no legal right to go in there. And so we'll put it in our stack of the other 800 that we have. It was a traditional drug house. Traffic all time, 30 or 40 cars in 2 or 3 hours, all times of night. They keep calling, nobody will do anything. It affects the quality of life in the neighborhood. And so we look at the case, and we don't have enough. Well, there's nothing that says we can't park a police car out in front and do their police reports. There's nothing to say that we can't monitor the traffic if we're in a public street. And it doesn't do anything but take a little time because the officers are out there anyway. And then if that slows down the traffic, the argument is, well, it moves it someplace else. Well, if it moves it someplace else, we'll go someplace else. The advantage is it creates an intelligence base. It finds out most people that are involved in drugs or drug dealing have other sorts of burglaries and other crimes associated with it. So the police department wants to know who they are anyway. But if you can build that relationship with that one individual and she knows that you care and you've actually done something, that is worth all the police reports you've taken on all the other drug cases.